Alright, today we're having a look at Steampunk Station by Casamiya 1000. Alright, so here we are in Steampunk Station by Casamiya 1000, and I do have to say this wasn't exactly the start that I was expecting, or the environment that I was expecting from the title. You know, you don't really think rocket ships so much with Steampunk, but we're gonna go with it. Now this is a little bit more what I was thinking when I saw it. One thing I did notice right off the bat with that title is that, well, the title page, the top score is 20 points, so quite possibly there's not a lot of point levels in this level, or it's extremely hard. I do, oh fudge, oh, we made it. I do like the way it looks though. I like this, this silhouette that we got going on here. I like the, now this is kind of weird because, like, yeah, it's steampunk, but the gears look like they do something. One thing that, you know, a good common complaint about steampunk style is that, like, you got all these gears that just, like, don't have function. They're just there for the look, which, you know, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with the look, but as a younger squirrel, when I was, oh, there we go. That's one issue with the silhouette levels. Sometimes you can't really tell, like, where you are in the layer in relation to other things. But yeah, as a young squirrel in university, a long time ago, I did like steampunk. It was a style that, well, I didn't really have a style at the time, but it certainly wasn't a style that I could afford. Like, the steampunk couture is not cheap. Like, to do it well, it's not cheap. But a common complaint was that you got, like, all these gears as decorative, but they don't really serve any function. They're just like, you slap some gears on a hat, and, like, it's steampunk. These gears, they did look like they were doing something, and I appreciate that. I like gears that gear. I like clockwork. I've always really liked clockwork as a stylistic element, but also as just a simple engineering element. So, yeah, I don't know where we're going with this, because, like, the level really speaks for itself, in a good way. Like, I think that it's, God, it's really nice looking. It does have that issue, though, that we mentioned, where it can be tough, it can be a bit of trouble to think, what is an interactive element and what is not. This is, I don't know how I like the speed on that one. That's a little bit weird. I'm probably not hitting it. There we go. Oh god, we've only got 8 seconds. We're gonna have to talk about this back to the hub. We'll see you there. Wait, well, we got 4 seconds, but we gotta go back to the hub. We'll see you there. See yas. And we're back in Steampunk Station by Casamiya 1000, and I'd say it's a really strong green circle. I almost said yellow square. I really found myself enjoying this level an awful lot, and I enjoyed it the more times that I played it. I ended up playing it a number of times for reasons that we're going to get into later, but I think it's a great little piece of kit. Like, it doesn't overstay its welcome. It keeps this wonderful pace throughout the entire level. The presentation is fantastic. Music choice is track by Hiko-san. I'm not sure which track it is. It's not the one that we're using here in the show today, but, like, it really serves to keep that pace going nice and strong, and I think it's a really good example of how music can complement greatly the way that a level plays, and I think that, like, different musical choices in this level would have had a really huge impact on how it felt. But, so, to get into all the good stuff, and the presentation here is just fantastic. Now, like, it says it's steampunk, and that Casamiya really likes, like, the steampunk aesthetic, as I do myself, as I mentioned in the first impressions video, but I kind of have, I'm not 100% sure if I would actually call this steampunk aesthetic, because, like, one of the things I kind of feel about steampunk is it's very much a fashion aesthetic. It's like focusing on ostentation and presentation over function, and, like, you got those gears, and the gears, like, don't connect to anything. They're just there, like, as a representative of clockwork or of engineering, and like similar with like the goggles and all the ornamentation in Steampunk, and it's like it doesn't do anything. It's purely symbolic, which is interesting, and it looks really cool. But kind of as a contrast in this level here, and it's like you could feel like all of the elements are actually working together. Like the gears are meshing, and you can imagine that they would be turning those pistons that are going up and down. Like there's nothing here that feels like dross. Like it's purely just ostentation, just purely presentation. And so like it kind of makes it not steampunk in my mind a little bit. It's more of like a fast factory punk or like industrial punk if we're just gonna slam punk onto things. Like, but like steampunk isn't really punk either, so I don't think we really need to worry about that here. But like I loved it. I think it just looked really cool, and the fact that it's like it's constantly in motion, and it's a good comparison to, I think, the Adventure in Evening that we talked about a couple weeks ago by Nico Oishi. And while that level, I really like the color scheme, and I think I like the color scheme maybe a little bit more in that level than I did in this one, but that level was like so static. It felt so big and empty at the end of the day, and because like the gameplay as well felt relatively slow paced because you're covering like lots of ground but not doing very much while you're covering it, that like it just kind of emphasized that the environment felt like a set piece. It just felt like a static thing. And here it's the exact opposite. Like this environment is constantly in motion, so it's giving you something to look at, but it's not so like gaudy, it's not so attention grabbing that it's going to distract you from what you're actually doing in the level, like you're actually playing it. And I think that's like a really nice balance that the level manages to catch. Kasumiya did an excellent job with that. I mentioned in the gameplay has got this really nice smoothness to it. Like you could, I think you'd want to play it a couple of times to get the layout pretty well in your head, but I think like you could play the level without stopping for the most part throughout the entire thing, like just as one straight shot, and that was really cool. I love like the little bouncy bits that we had. There's like two sections where you've got bits of the floor that are coming up really rapidly, and they're gonna throw you up to the next one, and you kind of bounce all the way up like three stories to get to where you're going. Like it's a really neat, really simple thing that just keeps that momentum flowing, and I think that was excellently handled. I think the momentum of the level is excellently handled. Difficulty of the level is really not too much beyond what we saw. There are definitely places where you can die. There are hazards, and there's spikes, and there's squishy bits that might kill you, but I think like they're really clear, they're really obvious, and I don't think that they're going to cause too much trouble unless you're not really paying attention to the level at all, or you're mistiming your jumps really bad, because there's a couple parts where like you need pistons to throw you up over spikes that themselves are going up and down, and you might muff the timing on that a little bit, but it's not too bad if you slow your pace just a touch to get through that section. There was one bit where you've got these like rollers that you're going to be jumping across, and the timing there as well can be just a little bit tricky, where if you're on the second roller in particular a little bit too long, then it'll like the roller will kind of push you down low enough that you can't actually make the jump to get off of it. But that's like, it's not really that bad, and I only died there a couple of times. But we're going to talk about that in a second, don't worry about it. One gameplay element that I didn't really appreciate, I mean, I did, and I didn't hate it, but like, okay, so the level is, it looks to be like a low point / no point level. There's no score bubbles obviously in the level, and when you look at the scoreboards, the majority of scores are 0. That, it's just all zeros all the way down, except for one score on top with 20 points. Now, your girl searched the whole level. I didn't do things that maybe I could have thrown myself off more ledges. Maybe like that score bubble was like hidden someplace that was off screen, and that you had to access it that way. I didn't notice like any sticker switches that would, reveal that, unless it was like a sticker switch that was only given to one player. Be a little bit weird. I don't think it's like a God mode glitch, because why would you glitch the game to get on the scoreboard with 20 points? Like, that's a real weird choice. Usually they'll do like 4 million points at least. Like, why would you just choose 20? And it's like, I've seen levels that are very low score levels where it's like every point bubble is just 1 point, and like your deaths are gonna really count. It's gonna be really obvious like how many times that you died. And like I can dig that as a design decision to encourage more challenge in players and not make it all numbers go up. Although personally speaking, I do love when the numbers go up. That's just me. I can also understand that like having no points at all, because maybe you feel like the score bubbles don't match the aesthetic, or having the score indicator up in the upper left there would distract from what you were presenting in the level. Or maybe it's just something that you're supposed to experience and look at, and there's not really a gameplay focus in that way that would justify having points in the level. Like, I could see why you would make it low score, and I could see why you would make it no score. I don't really get why you would put 20 points in a level, but like not have any indication as to where they are or how you would get them. One of the reasons I died a number of times and I played it so many times was because my theory was that maybe it was a bonus for getting the ace. Like, maybe there was a player sensor that was tracking the entire level, infinite range player sensor, and that if it ever didn't register the player, then it would like destroy a point bubble at the end of the level. And as long as you were on the level and you didn't die, then that point bubble would remain. You could pick it up right at the scoreboard and get those 20 points. But like, I aced it and didn't happen. So like, it gets on me a little bit. Honestly, it's like, where are they? And I challenge you, I honestly challenge you, if you play the level and you find those 20 points, screenshot it, get in touch with me, brag at me, be like, girl, how did you not find them? They were so easy. I 100% like give you all the permission that you need to just make fun of me because I didn't find them, but I didn't find them. And it really it did a thing to me, but not enough for me to knock the score down from a green circle to a yellow square. I do think that this level is totally deserving of it. I think that you'll have a really fun time with it. Like I said, it's relatively short. I don't think I think my longest run was maybe 5 minutes, and I think most of mine were somewhere in the range of like 3 to 4 minutes. So like, it's super manageable in a play session, even with the servers being kind of wacky the way they are. Which does bring up a last point, not about the level, but something that's come up a number of times in the past, and I noticed it again this time, and just kind of throwing it out there. So, when I played this level the first time, to get the first impression, and to do the archive recording, and the Kasamiya's planet looked one way. And then when I played this, maybe like a week later, I'm playing it this morning so that I could do this, the review right now, and the planet looked completely different. Now, I don't think it's not impossible that Kasamiya is still an active player, but it didn't seem that way looking at their profile. But it is possible that they changed it themselves in that interval, in that 1 week interval. But like, I don't know. Does that seem very likely? And I've had this come up in the past before, like where the servers are loading up the image of the planet of the previous level creator that I played when I'm in this new level, and it's like, I don't know if that's the issue here. I don't know why that happens in general. It kind of bugs me because I'm not sure which planet is the correct representation of Kasamiya 1000's planet, and ergo, which one should be in the archive. I know it's a really small detail, but it does really honestly kind of get on my nerves. But that's not anything that Kasamiya had any control over, because I'm pretty sure it's a server-side issue. It's certainly not anything that affects the level, but it is this thing that kind of pops out to me every now and then, and I noticed it again this time. But like this level, I really super enjoyed it. This was really, really fun. I highly recommend it. Give it a play. See if you can beat my score. I don't think that you will, but you might. Good luck. But that pretty much does it for us here at This Go About. So from me, Disco, here in Tokyo, to all of you out there, wherever you may happen to be, thank you, arigato, sayonara, see you, and ciao.